Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and I have one hot off the presses. This is the ASUS Expertbook P5. It's the second laptop I have in the studio that's running the Core Ultra 7, the 258V, also known as the Lunar Lake. And of course, we saw the ASUS ZenBook 14, or the S14, I should say. And I do have the HP OmniBook Ultra Flip coming, also running the same processor, but for some reason UPS really screwed up the delivery, so hopefully we'll get it in the next day or so. But anyway, that being said, this one is running that brand new processor. Now the difference, of course, is going from 16 cores to 8 cores, as we noticed, and then of course we're getting better graphics with the Intel Arc 140V graphics, so that's a big step up. We're also getting better battery life, so more cool and quiet. In fact, this is probably one of the quietest laptops I've ever used in a very, very long time. So cool and quiet, the name of the game here. Now it's got an all metal aluminum chassis. It's very lightweight. It's got durability, an 810H rating, or mil standard 810H rating. And it has a really nice display. Now this is a 14-inch display. It is a non-touch display. It's IPS, so you don't have to worry about any screen flickering or PWM, and you don't have to worry about screen burn-in, but it also is 144 hertz. It has a QHD plus resolution. So the question we have to ask is this going to compete with the X1 Carbon Gen 12, the HP EliteBook, the Dell Latitudes? I definitely think it could, and in fact, it may surpass it in some ways. Let's get into it. Let's go through the numbers. Let's get into why I think this might be one of the best business-focused laptops here for 2024. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is the ASUS Expertbook P5 with a brand new Lunar Lake processor, all new for 2024. Coming up. Now, before we delve into the unit itself, I just want to let everyone know, in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, I'm not being paid by ASUS. I'm not being sponsored by ASUS. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. ASUS is not getting copy approval. That means they're seeing this video for the first time, just like you. Now, this unit is on loan from ASUS, and once this review is done, I'll be sending it back. Now, this has a starting price of $1,099.99 or $1,100 if we round it up, and you could pick it up over at ASUS's website. It's not yet available, but it will be soon from what I understand, and I don't have exact pricing on the unit that I have here today in terms of the specs on this review unit, but once I do have that information, I will leave a link in the description below for more information and where you can buy one. Now, this is the second Lunar Lake laptop to come into the studio. I did the ASUS ZenBook S14, and now this is the first business focus that does have this brand new chipset. This is the Core Ultra 7 258V, the same one we saw on that ASUS. So really good in that regard in terms of performance. You're not going to see quite as good multi-core. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat. It has 8 cores as opposed to the 16 cores we got last year. But we are going to see better battery life on this. You are going to get better efficiency. It's going to run cooler and quieter. At least that's the theory. And it comes in a very lightweight aluminum chassis, so it's going to be pretty durable. It has a military standard 810H rating, so this can take a licking and keep on ticking. You also have a really good display here. It's not an OLED display, but it is a 14-inch 16:10 aspect ratio, 2.5K display with 144 hertz refresh rate. Let's get into all of that and more, and let's get to it. Now, at 1.269 kilograms or 2.797 pounds with just the laptop alone, you're getting a really thin and light laptop. So when you throw it in your bag, you're not going to really notice it all that much. It is also a very thin laptop, but not quite as thin as some of the others in this business focus category. Okay, let's check out the port selection, and on the left side, you get a USB Type-C Thunderbolt 4 port that is full function. You get an HDMI 2.1 port, a USB Type-A port 3.2 Gen 2, a second USB Type-C Thunderbolt 4 port that is also full function, and a 3.5 millimeter microphone headphone combo jack to round out the left side. And moving over to the right side is a second USB Type-A port, also 3.2 Gen 2, and a Kensington lock port to round out the ports on this unit. I would say all in all, a good port selection. Notably missing, no SD card reader would have been great. But other than that, it's been a pretty good port selection. On the other nitpick here, maybe a little bit of a nitpick, I would like to see those 2 USB Thunderbolt 4 ports split up, one on each side, but that's just me. But of course, overall, pretty decent port selection nonetheless. Now, when it comes to the display, as far as a business laptop is concerned, this is a really good one. It's a QHD Plus resolution, 2560 by 1600. It's an IPS display. It has a 16:10 aspect ratio. It's also got an anti-glare coating, a matte display, so you don't have to deal with any of the glare and reflections you get on a glossy display. And especially when you want to get work done, you won't have that issue. That's really good. It's also a bright display. I measured 485 nits for my measurements, and it does cover the color gamut really well here for an IPS display. It's very color accurate. You get a good contrast here, good black level, good white point, and you don't have to deal with PWM or screen flickering that you would in an OLED display. So these are all beneficial here. It's a non-touch display, so you don't get to navigate the OS or pinch to zoom or anything like that. With a touch display, you get that. You don't get that here. That's okay, though. This is a business-focused laptop. And the good thing here is you got a really good refresh rate here. You're looking at 144 hertz refresh rate, not that standard 60 hertz we see on a lot of the business-focused laptops here. You're going to get that very smooth, very fluid experience with 144 hertz. So that's going to make your experience overall much better. And consuming media on this has been very good. So in your downtime, when you're not doing your work, you can watch a Netflix movie, you can watch YouTube. All that worked really well on this panel. Now, this does have a 1080p IR webcam. That, of course, does have a physical shutter switch above the camera for more security and privacy, but the overall quality of the webcam leaves much to be desired. I felt it was a bit washed out for this category. I've seen a lot better on the other units that I've looked at in the business-focused laptops, but I want you to be the judge. You let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's take a look and a listen.
This is a 1080p IR camera. You can log in with face recognition with this camera, works well. And there's also the fingerprint scanner. The power button doubles as that fingerprint scanner. That worked pretty well, very responsive. What do you think about the video quality? And what do you think about the array mics, the audio quality? Let me know in the comment section below. Now, of course, this is an NPU here as far as running all this. 47 tops, I believe. This is what they're touting as far as Intel is concerned. And you get all the studio effects, the background blur, the creative filters, all that stuff, the auto framing. It's all there. We've seen it a million times. It'll certainly be there if you need it. But of course, let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section below.
Okay, let's take a peek inside the internals here. And as you can see, a big fan there, one single fan, not two fans, but one big one. And then, of course, you got a 63 watt-hour battery. We'll get into the thermal performance. We'll get into the battery life later on in this review. Spoiler alert, the battery life, really good. All right, let's talk about the SSD, or I should say SSDs, as there are two of them. An M.2 2280 full-size SSD in terms of that first one. And that one got really great reads and writes, as you can see, certainly fast enough what you need this laptop to do. And there's a second SSD slot, and this one is a 2230, the smaller form factor. Physical stature is going to be smaller, of course, but very fast reads and writes nonetheless. And I love having the fact that we have two SSD slots here for storage expansion. Amazing. Great. Now, you can get this with either 16 or 32 gigabytes of LPDDR5X memory, and it's running at the very fast 8533 megatransfers per second, running in dual channel mode. So if you need that extra memory, make sure you do get the 32 because this is not upgradable by the user since it is soldered to the motherboard. But that's to be expected here in 2024. That's pretty much par for the course. Now, when it comes to the wireless, my review unit has Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth combo card that is slotted in. That means if you have to swap it out for whatever reason down the road, you can. So that's pretty good. And I like the fact that it is Wi-Fi 7, making it more future-proof. As far as the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth, I've had no issues with either one on this review unit. Pretty good. Okay, let's talk about the keyboard. And it's a really good one here. You're looking at chiclet style keys. It's got 1.5 millimeters of key travel. It's also a spill resistant keyboard, which obviously you know I love. And as far as typing out long documents, emails, and the like, I felt it comfortable. I never felt like my fingers were going to bottom out. Good tactility, good overall feedback on this keyboard. It has a multi-stage backlight. That's going to allow you to get work done in a dark room or a dimly lit environment. That worked well. And of course, it has a glass precision touchpad that I thought was responsive when it comes to scrolling and doing all the gestures. Now, it's a nicely sized touchpad, but one thing to note, it's a traditional style touchpad. It's not a haptic touchpad, but I'm not expecting it here for some reason. I don't know why. I guess at a business laptop, you don't necessarily need a haptic, although it would have been great, but that will add to the overall cost of the unit. So say if you're a freelancer or somebody like that who doesn't want to break the bank, I think the cost is very important here. But overall, the trackpad did its job and was a very good one at that. All right, let's get into the performance numbers here. But before we do that, let's see the difference between Meteor Lake and what we have here with Lunar Lake. 16 cores, now reduced down to 8 cores. We get 8 threads, used to be 24 threads, now 8 threads, and they lose the hyper-threading. So if we look at Geekbench 6 and we look at some of the other business-focused laptops, the Expertbook P5 had better single-core performance. You can see it clearly here, and it had pretty decent multi-core. In fact, it beat out, obviously, the U processor we saw on that Dell Latitude, of course, but it didn't do quite as well as the Core Ultra 7 155H on, say, the X1 Carbon Gen 12, and that's to be expected. We have 16 cores there, 24 threads. Here we have 8 cores, 8 threads, no hyper-threading. Now, Cinebench 2024, excellent single-core performance, 122 here, best of the bunch, and decent multi-core, again, 8 cores versus a 16, in some cases 12, depending on which Meteor Lake processor you're looking at, but 539, certainly respectable, and certainly doable for a laptop in this ultra-portable category. So turning our attention to the integrated graphics here, the Intel Arc 140V, this brand new version of these graphics are really impressive here. Excellent time spy score, beating out some of these here, obviously beating out all of them in this category, and also we're looking at really great Firestrike score. We're looking at a great Wildlife Extreme score. So the integrated graphics are a big step up here, I think, over what we're getting here on these other business-focused laptops. There's no doubt about it. Now, when I tested for thermal throttling, I ran the Steel Nomad Lite stress test for this laptop, and it got a nearly passing score of 95.2%. Remember, 97% is passing. It got pretty close to there, so really not much thermal throttling detected in that test. Now, when it comes to the surface temperatures, really cool here. Never getting overly hot. Where you place your fingers remained relatively cool, really, on the keyboard there. Above the keyboard, below the display, the heating vent heats up, but that's to be expected. That's where the heat dissipates. And then, of course, on the underside, I didn't find too many hot spots there. In fact, it remained very cool, and you can actually use this on your lap and not worry about having children. You definitely can use this on your lap. There's no doubt about it. And this has got to be one of the quietest laptops I've ever used, even pushing it under heavy load, never went above the 30s, even sometimes in the low 40s, but that's when you're really pushing it. I would say one of the coolest and quietest laptops out there, and for a business laptop, that's what we want to see. Now, an area that's really impressive here is battery life. It did 19 hours and 1 minute on the PC Mark 10 Modern Office test, which simulates an everyday working day. And then, of course, it did 17 hours and 33 minutes on the video playback, which is excellent. In real-world usage, I was getting anywhere from 10 to 12 hours of mixed use every day. I think you can expect to take this on the go without having to bring your charger. You can expect all-day battery life, and that's great. Now, speaking of the charger, this comes with a 65-watt USB Type-C charger with the power cord, and as you can see, pretty compact to take with you on the go, so really good in that regard. Now, the ASUS Expertbook P5 has some really powerful speakers, some of the better sounding speakers you're going to hear on a business laptop. In fact, it might be one of the best. It gets loud, there's bass, there's pretty good mids. The overall sound is rich, so I'm pretty liking what I'm hearing so far. It has Dolby Atmos, that helps with the spatial audio. But of course, I want you to let me know what you think in the comment section below. Now, let's give it a listen. All right, let's bring it all home. And there's a lot to like here about this ASUS Expertbook P5 here for 2024. I like its display. It's a QHD Plus display. I like the 144 hertz refresh rate. I like the fact that you're running Lunar Lake here, the brand new chipset from Intel that gives you improved single core performance. It gives you better integrated graphics with the Intel Arc 140V. I like the really great keyboard and touchpad here. I like the fact that you're getting a really good port selection, although not perfect. I would have liked to have seen an SD card reader. Runs cool and quiet for office tasks. You can't ask for more there. And then it's got really outstanding battery life, especially if you want to take a long airplane ride and get work done. This will last during that flight. Now, high quality speakers for a business laptop certainly is great. And I love the fact that you're getting 2 SSD slots, one 2280 and one 2230, so that you can expand out the storage and gives you options there. Now, of course, it's not perfect. The RAM is not upgradable, but that's pretty much par for the course here in 2024. There's no haptic touchpad option, although that probably would have added to the overall cost of the unit, but it would have been a nice option to go with. No touch option for the display, not a big deal for some, but for some might want to have it. I don't know. Less multi-core performance here. That's to be expected. You're going from 16 cores to 8. And then there's no SD card reader, as I mentioned, and the subpar webcam leaves much to be desired. I felt it was a bit washed out, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Hopefully they can put a better webcam in the future, or maybe a firmware update can fix things. I don't know, but it didn't look good to me. I don't know if it's just my unit, but I'll look into that. But overall, I think the Expertbook P5 is a really intriguing choice for those freelancers, small to medium businesses, even to the larger companies that want to buy these in bulk and roll them out to their fleet. I think you're going to get a really good bang for the buck with this, and I think overall, a very impressive outing here from ASUS. So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment in that comment section below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's a device or something out there you think I should review. I'll do my best to try to make that happen. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. And don't forget to check out my website, amdtechreviews.com. So until next time, this is Andrew, and I'll see you in the next video.